At this very moment, somewhere in the darkness of our universe, an unknown object is producing a signal that eventually reaches Earth. And according to astronomers, this strange source may have been doing it for decades before anyone realized it was there. What makes the discovery so unsettling is not simply the signal itself. It is the fact that scientists still cannot confidently explain what is producing it. The object releases powerful bursts with an almost mechanical rhythm. Roughly every 22 minutes, another pulse arrives. This pattern appears to have existed since at least the late 1980s, long before modern smartphones, social media, or many of today's space observatories. For decades, the signals were hiding in plain sight. And now, as scientists examine them more closely, they have discovered that this mystery may be part of a much larger story. Because while astronomers were trying to understand these strange repeating radio bursts, another extraordinary visitor entered our cosmic neighborhood. An object traveling at enormous speed arrived from beyond the solar system. Its trajectory showed that it was not permanently bound to the Sun. It came from interstellar space. The discovery immediately attracted attention because only a handful of confirmed objects from outside our solar system have ever been observed passing through it. This one, however, appeared unusually fast and unusually large. Its behavior was strange enough that some scientists began discussing possibilities far beyond ordinary comets and asteroids. One of the most controversial ideas came from Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, who suggested that although a natural explanation was still the most likely possibility, the unusual characteristics of the object deserved careful examination. Could it simply be a strange comet? Could it be an object unlike anything previously observed? Or could there be something more to its journey? The scientific community does not have an answer. But this is where the story becomes even more fascinating. Because astronomers have spent decades detecting signals from space that initially looked impossible to explain. Some later turned out to have perfectly natural origins. Others remain mysteries. Take the famous WOW signal. In 1977, a powerful and unusual radio signal was detected by a telescope in Ohio. The signal was so remarkable that astronomer Jerry Emmon reportedly wrote the word "wow" next to the data. For decades, scientists have searched for a definitive explanation. Was it a natural event? Was it a rare astronomical phenomenon? Or was it something artificial? More recently, researchers re-examined old observational data using modern techniques. Their analysis suggested that the original event may have been stronger than earlier estimates indicated. One possible explanation involves an extremely powerful object known as a magnetar. A magnetar is a type of neutron star with an unimaginably intense magnetic field. These objects are among the most extreme environments known to science. A magnetar can produce extraordinary bursts of radiation and energy. Researchers have proposed that activity involving a magnetar and surrounding interstellar material could potentially create unusual radio emissions similar to the kind detected decades ago. But there is an important detail. That explanation is still only a possibility. The WOW signal has not been conclusively explained. And it is far from the only strange radio source discovered by astronomers. In Australia, researchers using powerful radio telescopes have surveyed millions of objects across the sky. Most of these signals can be identified. They come from stars, gas clouds, pulsars, galaxies, and other familiar astronomical sources. But occasionally, something appears that refuses to fit neatly into any known category. One particularly unusual object near the center of the Milky Way produced several powerful radio bursts over many months. The emissions did not follow the expected pattern of an ordinary pulsar. Scientists searched for the source at other wavelengths. They looked for visible light. They searched for infrared radiation. They examined X-rays. And yet, nothing obvious appeared. The object was essentially invisible except when it produced radio emissions. Then, without warning, it became silent. Researchers continued monitoring the region. Nothing happened. For months, the mysterious source appeared to have disappeared. Later, another burst was detected. Then it vanished again. Scientists classified it among a rare group of unusual radio transients near the galactic center. But even today, the exact nature of some of these objects remains uncertain. Possible explanations include unusual neutron stars, strange pulsars, or other extreme stellar remnants. However, none of the proposed explanations perfectly matches every observation. And that brings us back to the object that may be one of the strangest repeating radio sources ever discovered. It lies roughly 15,000 light-years from Earth. The signal we detect today began its journey toward us approximately 15,000 years ago. When those radio waves first left their source, human civilization looked completely different. Yet those ancient signals are still arriving. The object produces bursts with a cycle of around 22 minutes. Sometimes the emissions can continue for several minutes. At first, astronomers considered whether the object could be a magnetar. But the timing created a problem. Typical magnetar activity does not easily explain such a long and regular cycle. Scientists also considered pulsars. Pulsars are rapidly rotating neutron stars that sweep beams of radiation across space like cosmic lighthouses. Their rotation produces highly regular pulses. But this mysterious object appears to operate far more slowly than known pulsars. Its behavior challenges conventional models. One possibility is that it belongs to a rare class of extremely long-period magnetars or related neutron star objects. That remains one of the leading scientific ideas. But leading explanation does not mean confirmed explanation. There is still much we do not understand. And then came the discovery of an interstellar visitor that captured the attention of astronomers around the world. In July 2025, astronomers detected an object moving through the solar system on a trajectory showing that it had originated elsewhere. It became known as 3I Atlas. Unlike ordinary asteroids and comets that orbit the Sun, an interstellar object follows a hyperbolic path. It enters the solar system. It passes through. And eventually, it continues back into interstellar space. It is essentially a visitor from another stellar neighborhood. Observations suggested that 3I Atlas was moving at an extraordinary velocity relative to the Sun. Early estimates also generated significant discussion about its possible size. If those estimates were correct, it would represent an exceptionally large interstellar object compared with previously detected visitors such as Oumuamua and Borisov. Naturally, unusual objects attract unusual theories. Avi Loeb publicly discussed the possibility that some of the object's characteristics deserved consideration beyond standard explanations. He did not claim that the object was definitely artificial. Instead, he argued that scientists should examine anomalies carefully rather than dismissing them without investigation. That distinction is important. Speculation is not evidence. And extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Other organizations searched for possible artificial radio emissions from the object. No confirmed technological signal was detected. The current mainstream scientific view remains that 3I Atlas is most likely a natural object. Perhaps an unusual comet. Perhaps something whose properties are not yet fully understood. But a natural origin remains the scientific consensus. Still, discoveries like this reveal something important. Our ability to observe the universe is changing rapidly. For centuries, humanity could only study the night sky using visible light. Today, astronomers can observe the universe across enormous portions of the electromagnetic spectrum. Radio telescopes can detect objects invisible to ordinary telescopes. Infrared observatories can see through cosmic dust. X-ray instruments reveal violent high-energy events. Artificial intelligence is now helping researchers examine datasets too enormous for human teams to process alone. And as our instruments improve, the number of unexplained discoveries is likely to increase. That does not necessarily mean the universe is becoming stranger. It may simply mean that we are finally becoming capable of seeing what was always there. History gives us an important warning. The first pulsars ever discovered produced such regular signals that some scientists briefly considered whether they could have an artificial origin. One of them was jokingly nicknamed LGM-1, meaning Little Green Men 1. Eventually, scientists discovered the natural explanation: a rapidly rotating neutron star. The universe can create patterns that appear intentional. It can produce repeating signals. It can generate structures that look engineered. And almost every time, continued research eventually reveals a natural cause. But almost is not the same as always. This is why astronomers continue searching.